Hi, my name is Terry, and you're watching Terry Tells the Story. Today we're talking about the longest and most expensive trial in U.S. history, the case of Ray Buckey. In 1983, 24-year-old Ray Buckey was a teacher's aide at McMartin Preschool in Manhattan Beach, California. The school was a family legacy, founded by his grandmother and managed by his mother, Peggy McMartin Buckey. Ray was a quiet young man, described by many as shy, living a life that revolved almost entirely around his family and their business. The destruction of his life began with a single phone call on September 5th. A parent named Judy Johnson reported to the police that Ray had sodomized her 2-year-old son during a nap. The police did not investigate Johnson's background or her mental stability. Instead, they immediately triggered a red alert to the community, sending letters to hundreds of families stating that they were investigating a massive child molestation ring at the school and that their children may have been victims. Ray was arrested and locked in a cell. While he sat behind bars, the investigation was handed over to the Children's Institute International, where a therapist named Key McFarland conducted the interviews. These sessions were not exploratory, they were coercive. McFarland used hand puppets and dolls to pressure the children. When a child said nothing happened, she would tell them that they were boring or naughty and that all the other kids had already told the truth. Under this immense psychological pressure, the children began to tell stories that the adults clearly wanted to hear. The narratives spiraled into the impossible. Children claimed Ray took them into secret underground tunnels beneath the classroom. They claimed they were forced to watch the sacrifices of animals in churches, that they were flown in hot air balloons, and that Ray could turn into a crow or become invisible. And the state believed it all. Ray spent 5 years in the county jail awaiting trial, held without bail as a danger to society. During this time, the prosecution spent millions of dollars to prove the claims. They brought in heavy machinery to dig up the floorboards of the school, searching for the secret tunnels. They found nothing. No tunnels, no trapdoors, and no evidence of disturbed earth. Medical exams of the children showed no physical trauma consistent with the violent stories being told. As the trial finally began, the original accuser, Judy Johnson, began to unravel. She claimed she saw Ray Buckey flying through the air and that she was being harassed by invisible people. She was eventually diagnosed with paranoid schizophrenia. She died of liver failure before she could testify, but the prosecution, driven by public hysteria, refused to drop the charges. The first trial became the longest and most expensive in U.S. history, costing $15 million. After nearly 3 years of testimony, the jury entered the longest deliberations in history as well, lasting 6 months. In January of 1990, the jury returned a verdict of not guilty on 52 counts. However, they deadlocked on 13 remaining counts of molestation and conspiracy. They simply could not reach a unanimous decision on the final charges. Rather than letting Ray go, the district attorney, fueled by frantic public, forced Ray into a second trial later that year for those remaining counts. Ray had to sit through the entire nightmare again, facing the same debunked testimonies. In July of 1990, the second jury was also deadlocked, this time split 8-4 in favor of acquittal. Finally, on July 27, 1990, 7 years after the nightmare began, the district attorney admitted that there was no reasonable probability of a conviction and dismissed all the charges. Ray Buckey was finally a free man, but he emerged into a world where his family's business was a pile of rubble. His mother was broken, and his name was forever synonymous with a crime that never happened. So, the Spanish I'm going to be teaching you today is Necesito concentrarme. Necesito concentrarme. And what that means is, I need to focus. Be sure to tune in tomorrow where we tackle the second part of this story, including what happened to Bucky and what happened to the psychologist. If you like this video or you learned something new, drop a like down below. If you have a specific topic that you'd like to see me cover, drop me a comment. And if you'd like to support this work that I do, there'll be a link to the Cash App in the description box below. We'll see you next time.